Kazakhstan, known for its global initiatives, has established itself as a reliable and strategic partner in the Eurasian space and on the world stage. According to experts, this is primarily due to the republic's foreign policy, good neighborly relations, and the role as a peacemaker. Analysts highlight that at present the whole world sees Kazakhstan as the anchor of stability in Central Asia. Kazakhstan is conducting a transparent economic policy and creating a favorable investment climate, which is highly valued by foreign businessmen.
Życzyć wspaniałemu, wielkiemu narodowi kazachstańskiemu sukcesów.
I remember the visit of President Nursultan Nazarbayev to Poland very well. More than 1,000 business representatives gathered at the business forum. This was a powerful impetus to establishing business contacts. I want to note that at present, the Poles have a visa-free entry to Kazakhstan. A direct flight between Warsaw and Astana was launched in May. This is also very important as for business, our Polish entrepreneurs are interested in cooperation, especially in agriculture.
Tak naprawdę zapoczątkował.
Po pierwsze,
Latvia and Kazakhstan have established close, friendly relations, constructive and open dialogue at all levels over the years of Kazakhstan's independence. There is also great potential in the joint development of Eurasian transit traffic and in expanding economic partnership.
В первую очередь надо сказать, что в этом году у нас было хорошее сотрудничество с Казахстаном. Не могу не говорить о...
First of all, I must say that this year was productive in terms of cooperation with Kazakhstan. I also visited Expo in Kazakhstan. There was a transport week of Latvia, where we met with businessmen from Kazakhstan. Much has been done regarding the joint rail links. I think that our joint cooperation is advancing every year.
По железной дороге, так что я думаю, наше совместное сотрудничество получается с каждым годом лучше и лучше.
The head of the National Library of Ukraine noted that Kazakhstan is a successful example for many countries. During the years of independence, the republic has not only introduced new technologies but also trained world-class specialists, the expert believes. He also highlighted that the OSCE chairmanship and successful work in the UN Security Council is a testament to Kazakhstan's high achievements in the world arena.
Мы слагаем дань глубокого уважения президенту Казахстана, господину Нурсултану Назарбаеву.
We salute to President of Kazakhstan, Nursultan Nazarbayev, the leader whose name is known in the entire world. And also moral qualities are not questioned anywhere in the world. We have heard a lot about those effective measures taken by the president and implemented by Kazakhstan's government. We heard about the country's modernization, introduction of new technologies, and modern governance system, world-scale staff training, which is truly valuable for a country.
Новых кадров действительно мирового уровня, что и для нас является очень ценным.
Astana received the status of the capital city on December the 10th, 1997. At present, the capital of the independent state is known all over the world. The modern city has become a symbol of Kazakhstan and center of the Eurasian space. The Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions and the Astana Economic Forum are held here on a regular basis. Heads of state and government gathered here during the historic OSCE, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe Summit, the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Jubilee Summits. This year, the city once again promoted itself on the world stage by holding in the international exhibition Astana Expo 2017. Astana also hosts negotiations on the settlement of the Syrian crisis. Astana became known for its global peacekeeping efforts, literally from the very first steps. Akmola will become the capital city of independent Kazakhstan starting from today, the 10th of December 1997. All the major decisions will be made here. We are a peaceful state and we are declaring our peaceful intentions toward all the neighboring countries. We're announcing to all Kazakh people that we have come here to serve our people, their aspirations and their future prosperity. Telegang Mohamedjanov remembers the first days and months of the formation of Astana that received its current in May 1998. The famous composer and public figure was the deputy mayor of the capital 20 years ago.
Көштердің үстіндегі ең үлкен көш болды. Өйткені біз алғашқы рет халық болып егеменді мемлекет болып, өзіміздің астанамызда.
It was a great relocation. We were the first among the independent CIS republics to decide where our capital should be located. That time, we, as a sovereign state, decided where the capital would be.
Халық болып, мемлекет болып, өзіміздің егемендігіміздің туын осы жерде тіктік.
These buildings is where Astana was formed as one of the most vibrant and dynamic capitals of the world. It was the first metropolitan residence. Now it is a unique historical and memorial complex. The general plan of Astana was discussed at this table located in the Golden Hall. The competition was held twice in a row. The project of famous Japanese architect Kisho Kurakawa won at the second round. The transfer of the capital city gave a powerful impetus to the economic development of Astana. Investments in the main city increased 45 times in 20 years and amounted to more than 850 billion tenge. At present, Astana is a major donor of the whole republic's budget. In fact, it is the locomotive of Kazakhstan's economic, scientific, and technological development. High indicators contribute to improving the demographic situation. In 2016, the capital's population reached 1 million people. There are big plans ahead. Astana is purposefully and systematically moving towards becoming the international financial center of the entire Central Asian region. In the age of information technology, it is necessary to be up to date. Therefore, the transition to the Latin alphabet will give a powerful impetus to development of the Kazakh language. Thanks to the new alphabet, it will become much easier to master the alphabet since this will expand the scope of its application. Most importantly, the transitioning will help preserve the cultural heritage of the Kazakh people. This was announced by Peter van der Heijden, the former director of Higher Education Department of European Commission.
International platforms that you have Kazakh participants and EU participants. So it's a very lively exchange, and we all go through the necessity to modernize. That is true for France, for Spain, for Kazakhstan. So we can learn from each other how to do that. They're doing lots of good work, lots of investments. We have to train our population. That is good for the economy, it's good for society, it's good for your personal well-being, and we see that Kazakh is putting a priority on that.
The IT employees support the transition of the Kazakh language to the Latin alphabet. Today, many computer programs have no Cyrillic symbols. The new alphabet is one way to solve a problem that has existed for 30 years. According to scientists, this step will not only save time and money, but also will increase the competitiveness of specialists.
Они конкурентно изначально проигрывают в связи с тем, что
Initially, they lose competitively due to the fact that they are forced to spend additional money on adapting these programs to Cyrillic. Therefore, we need a transition to the Latin alphabet to develop the IT sphere, the Kazakh-speaking internet community, and software, which is a very large and most promising market for the economy.
Сегодня рынок экономики, именно казахскоязычного программного обеспечения нам необходим переход на латиницу.
Public school students of the Pavlodar region will be able to take part in excavations which will give them opportunities to discover ancient history of the Irtysh River and to see the sacred monuments. Archaeologists of the Pavlodar Pedagogical Institute have started to create a database of young volunteers who will head to new adventurous expeditions. For example, in summer, the students of this school are heading to the famous Bayabawil Stonehenge. In addition, the public school has its own Asilmura ethnographic laboratory. We took part in many excavations. We studied artifacts. I liked it very much. Better to see something once than to hear about it 1,000 times. In the future, I want to participate in such expeditions again.
Мы только за сотрудничать с детьми, которым это интересно, которые...
We fully support cooperation with children who are interested in expeditions. The main thing is students' desire to discover unknown in the ground, which needs to be explored.
Которые лежат еще, допустим, в земле, еще не исследованы, которые ждут.
Students are interested in how the Kima Kaganate's cities emerged along the Irtysh River, the history of the Middle Ages, and the Kazakh Khanate. This costume is a copy of the armor of the 9th to 11th centuries old warrior. The archaeologists found the original in the May region. A number of students visited these places.
Оқушылар соншалықты бір қызығушылықпен қарайды, және де осы оқушылардың қызығушылығын іске асыру.
Since we see children's sincere interest and response, we plan to continue to work with scientists and archaeologists. We are interested in cooperation.
Іске ары қарай дамуын біз ұстаздар қауымы бұған ерекше мән береміз.
As part of the modernization of public consciousness program, a map of holy places of the Pavlodar region is underway, which will include the most significant and popular historical monuments. Experts say that this list will be replenished. The scientists at the Pavlodar Pedagogical Institute are broadening the geography of searches. Field expeditions took place in 3 districts of the region within this season. High school students will be able to head to excavation works next year. All of them are waiting for discoveries. Mukhtar Awezov's works are a valuable heritage for all Turkic peoples. This was announced by participants of the conference dedicated to the 120th anniversary of the great Kazakh writer in Istanbul. The organizers of the event were the Union of Municipalities of Turkic-speaking countries and the Society of Science and Research of Kazakhs in Turkey. Famous Turkish literary scholars, students of philology, intellectuals, and the Kazakh diaspora learned about the creative path of the eminent playwright as well as his studies, ideas, and aspirations. In her given speech, assistant professor at the Gazi University specializing in the Kazakh literature, Jamilia Kınatji, spoke in detail about the works of Mukhtar Awezov.
Neden bizim için Muhtar Awezov çok önemli? Çünkü Muhtar Awezov gerçekten...
It is very important for us to explore, study the life and work of Mukhtar Awezov. Thanks to the works of the writer, we understand how the Kazakh people used to live in the past. Mukhtar Awezov is an outstanding Kazakh classic. The literature by Awezov has long become the people's heritage. The novel epic The Path of Abay by Awezov is such a wonderful work. Today, the best works of the writer are translated into Turkish. They should be widely represented to the Turkish readers.
Muhtar Awezovlu. Fakat bütün dünyaya ününü neyle duyurmuş dersek o zaman da Abay Yolu romanıyla bütün dünyaya ününü.
Бүгінгі шараға ресми мекемелердің де халықтың да бір қалмай келіп
I'm glad that today's conference involves both official organizations and members of the public. Thanks to such events, the legacy of the Kazakh people becomes famous abroad. Not only people in Kazakhstan celebrate the jubilee of the writer, but also Kazakhs living in different countries of the world. This proves that Mukhtar Awezov is a great writer and our people are united.
Тұлғасының қаншалықты ұлы екендігінде көрсететін қазақ елінің қай жерде жүрсе де бірлікте екендігінде дәлелдейтін жағдай деп ойлаймын.
The traditional eagle hunting tournament, Kansanar, has acquired an international status. This year, approximately 50 hunters with eagles from all regions of the country, as well as from Hungary, China, Mongolia, Russia, and Kyrgyzstan, gathered in the Burabai Resort. According to the rules of the Republican Association of National Sports, the assessment was based on the equipment of burkitchi, the appearance of raptors, and their ability to hunt prey. In comparison with the rules of other states, our rules are up to date. We do not harm animals, we do not hunt rabbits, foxes, and wolves. We use a special method of domesticating birds of prey. We attach to the horse a 50-meter rope with the skin of the animals. We watch how the exercises like Kolga, Shakiru, Shinga, Tartu, and free flight are performed. When the bird is released, we measure the time and speed of the flight by a stopwatch. The organizers of the tournament highlighted that Kansanar is one of the oldest types of hunting, which begins with the first snow. Year by year, such competitions are gaining popularity abroad. The owners hardly consider how much the birds cost, since they symbolize continuation of the craft of grandfathers and great-grandfathers. The birds of prey have become the family members of the burkitchi. This is not my first competition. We take part in different competitions. I got prizes at many tournaments with this eagle. This tournament was held at a high level. I can say that the competition is organized at an international level. The International Konsonar 2017 tournament was dedicated to the Independence Day of Kazakhstan in memory of the legendary burkachi, Masip Batirkhanuli. As a result of the competition, Kanat Shulinbaev, a representative of the Akmal region, won the tournament.
Kazakhstan, the future is here. Kazakhstan crowdfunding, history of success of the Kazakhstan businessmen, world news, analysis of the mobile commerce market in the Republic of Kazakhstan. The Kazakhstan news. Crowdfunding, or public financing. This is the name of the collective cooperation of people in raising funds for achieving common goals. Today, the most popular international crowdfunding platforms are Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Annually on these platforms, start-uppers from around the world collect more than $2 billion. For Kazakhstan, the idea of crowdfunding is not new. In the Great Steppe, crowdfunding was known even before it became mainstream in the West. In the blood of Kazakhstanis, such an idea flows like an asar. This is mutual assistance. In our difficult time, it will be very useful when people will help each other to develop their businesses, their ideas. I think this will help in the development of small businesses in Kazakhstan. The first crowdfunding site appeared in Kazakhstan in 2014. People were talking about it a lot, hoping that it will become popular, but it did not work. In the wake of this project, 4 more failed. Due to a series of setbacks, a small lull is set in on the Kazakh market for public finance. This stopped last year when 2 platforms at once loudly declared themselves. The crowdfunding platform StartTime.kz was opened in November 2016. However, the portal officially started 6 months later. During this time, the developers, employees of a large Kazakhstan investment company, studied the demand for their products, analyzed the behavior of investors, and worked on the errors. As a result, the most effective system of cooperation with users was established here. As soon as the author registered, he signed a contract with us. We approved his launch. He gets access to the general public, and on the same day, the mailing database sends information about the start of a new project. This is also a very good advertising tool, thus people who registered on the platform will learn about the new project. Platform users are offered to place their ideas in 10 categories. Society, fashion, and charity are among them. Several projects are already operating in these areas. If they collect the necessary amount, then 15% of the fees will remain in the crowdfunding platform. Thus, monetization of the portal is carried out. According to the rules of crowdfunding, the author has the right to choose a period of 30 to 90 days. He must collect the sum he needs during this period. If he collects the amount of more than 50% of the sum, that means the author is successful. For now, 10 projects are registered on the platform. 3 of them successfully completed the training camp, including DNA Code Knitwear, Kazakhstani brand of handmade knitted clothes. According to the head of the team, Diana Utimisova, this brand has the spirit of the steppe soul and the beauty of Kazakh women. We have reached a sum of 1,141,000 tenge thanks to the people. I believe that this is a huge proof that our project is interesting and that this platform really works. Artyom Abishev and Mikhail Sherbakov, another participants of the crowdfunding platform. With the help of people's funding, they want to assemble the first Kazakh race car for the Lotus 7. And for this, the guys have all the necessary skills. On weekdays, they sort out aggregates and units of their cars. At the weekend, sharpen the skill of drift. It was just a civil, atmospheric car in a good body. We've improved all the tech characteristics. We've installed gearboxes, changed the chassis, made it harder. Respectively, the power of this car has increased. Sometimes tuning for a car costs huge money. Realization of a new project will cost Almaty tuners about 3,800,000 tenge. It's worth assembling the zero race car for the competition. This is a calculated engineering design that anyone who wishes can build. It is very common in the West. This machine is for a competition like a golf club for a game, or a bowling ball that is used by a person on a weekend. A person who hones its skills on a simple design that is easy to maintain and service. After successful fundraising, all the depositors, depending on the amount of the donation, are promised valuable prizes. The most important of them is the possibility to run a sports car on the circuit in Almaty. According to experts, the implementation of such large projects speaks not only of the image of the crowdfunding platform, but also about the reset of the ancient Kazakh tradition of the Asar in version 2.0. In the 1990s, a whole galaxy of successful startups grew up in Kazakhstan. One of them is Serikbay Bisikeyev, the head of a group of companies engaged in production and implementation of operational and technological communications for industrial enterprises. Recently, a creative meeting with Serikbay took place in Almaty, where he presented his new book. In his book, Serikbay shares a secret of how to create a successful business from the start and to unite around yourself a strong team of like-minded people. By the way, this publication sold thousands of copies and became a bestseller. My book is about being happy. It's about people who are not managers, not businessmen, but ordinary people. In order to be happy, you can be the best lawyer, the best logistician, the best one or another dentist or farmer. The book tells the story of the life of a simple boy from the Kustanay Aul. Tempering in the difficult conditions of the life of the 90s, Serikbay began to learn tough principles in his work from a young age. Therefore, in the conditions of the economic crisis, despite the lack of capital and the necessary connections, he achieved the set goals. When he told me something like, "Yura, we will earn a lot of money," I thought, what are you talking about? What kind of money in the beginning of your career? We have only 3 people. According to the author of the book, the formula for success is the main issue of all conferences and forums with his participation. However, a person can find a solution to this question only himself. In doing so, there are mandatory ingredients for success that can be described in 3 areas. Plan your life while others live aimlessly. Work while the others sleep. Act while others doubt. When we started to enter international markets and when distributors from other countries started to arrive, then I realized that you can create world-class products and be a leader in this field in a niche. Do not try to play at all markets. Engage in at least one area, but be number 1 in it. At the creative meeting with Serikbay Bisikeyev, there were other well-known Kazakh managers. And in one voice they said, in order to succeed, it is necessary to dream. Write down your dreams. Plan a business roadmap. Feel free to consult and act contrary to all circumstances. The Airwheel company has developed a saddle segment. The seat for convenience of the user is installed on the shock absorber. Due to this, the unpleasant sensations and shaking during driving on bad roads are greatly reduced. In addition, there is a special rubberized footboard near each wheel, so that it would be more convenient for the user to place his legs there. The Segway is made in a firm white-orange color scale with black inserts, tires, rubber linings on a wheel, and the bottom part of a seat. When assembling the Segway, in general, alloys of aluminium and magnesium were used. Of these, the entire supporting structure is assembled, as well as the wings over the wheels. The steering column is made of polycarbonate. The chair is trimmed with natural leather. Specialists of this company, together with scientists from the University of Sheffield, have developed a programmable robot satellite, Miro. Outwardly, he looks like a pet. Miro has 6 senses. He reacts to the force of pressing to a bright light. In addition, the robot has stereo vision and acute hearing. Miro also uses sonar, like bats and dolphins, to explore its habitat. Onboard sensors help him not to fall off the table or slide down the stairs. Without a phone as without hands. 65% of Kazakhstanis use smartphones every day, the number of which has long exceeded the number of stationary computers. Therefore, it is logical that all the know-how in this sphere automatically becomes a trend. One of these latest trends is mobile commerce. The principle of its work is easily revealed in 2 sentences. It will be enough just to have a phone with you, without a need to carry a purse, to carry cards, or to carry cash. Just have a phone from which you can pay everything. Today, the mobile payment market in Kazakhstan is estimated at 9,300 million tenge, which is only 4% of all electronic sales in Kaznet. However, these indicators are sufficient to identify the 3 most popular mobile services in the country. In the first place, telecommunications, bills for the internet, cable television, telephone communication. On the second, online games. The top 3 most popular mobile commerce services in Kazakhstan are network companies. Recently in Kazakhstan, another mobile service was officially launched, the withdrawal of cash from the balance of the phone. The project was implemented within the framework of a consortium of 4 Kazakhstani companies. Withdrawal from the balance is the first step, I think. Then we have to go towards payment from the balance, including payment from postal services. The future must go in this direction in order to be competitive tomorrow. It's a startup for us, and we welcome this kind of startup and will continue to develop it. You can take cash from the balance of the phone in 2 ways. The first one is through an ATM. To do this, you must select the operation Cash Withdrawal from the balance. Enter the confirmation code and the amount. After the security system checks the entered data, the ATM will give out cash. We have seen there are operations of card to card. Therefore, we worked on the fact of using an electronic wallet as a source of funding. That is, the beeline is the mobile balance to give the possibility of withdrawal of money both to the card and ATM and mail from it. Probably these are 3 such fundamental pillars that cover the topic of all transactions. The second way to withdraw cash from the balance of the smartphone is to use mail services. Namely, you need to come to the post office, present your identity card, give the phone number, and a confirmation code will be sent to your number. It must be presented to the postal operator. Today, leading technology companies of Kazakhstan are working on a new product in the field of mobile payments. It is about the possibility of paying for goods using QR codes, so-called 2-dimensional barcodes with encrypted information. What will be the effect of the introduction of this technology in Kazakhstan? We learn very soon. The launch of services for payment of goods using QR codes is scheduled for the end of 2017. Startup Dictionary. Elevator pitch literally means presentation in the elevator, exposure of the essence of the project to the investor in a very brief form, in about 30 seconds. Tech Control, messenger for retail. Nikita Akulov, the general director of the Internet Store. Work experience in strategic and operational consulting. Specialization, e-commerce. Review for the startup, Buy Me. Buy Me is a Kazakhstani WhatsApp for retail trade with the possibility of payment by correspondence.
Если в таком формате запускать этот проект, то, вероятно, он будет иметь успех, потому что в мессенджере гораздо...
If you run the project in this format, it is likely to be successful. In the messenger, it's much easier to reach the supplier, find out some questions that interest the buyer. In many ways, trading floors now combine their site with a pop-up dialog box. It is possible that in the future, the messenger will be the main one. The trading platform will be secondary.
Возможно, в будущем главным будет мессенджер, да? То есть торговая площадка уже вторичная. Мне кажется, что объем инвестиций немного недооценен. 3 миллиона тенге, на мой взгляд.
The volume of investments, in my opinion, is not underestimated a little. 3 million tenge is an optimistic view on how much money you need to develop a messenger. Because, besides the fact that you need to write code, a lot of money will go into marketing so that people know about this trading platform, so that businessmen want to place their goods there. People started buying goods there from this messenger as from a trading trading platform.
Инвестить, чтобы люди начали покупать с этого мессенджера, как с торговой площадки. Когда-то говорили, что рынок планшетных компьютеров, да,
Once they said that the tablet PC market will never be popular. However, we know that history tells us the opposite. In principle, the same can happen with a messenger. Now it's hard to say how many people will use it. This messenger will essentially be an aggregator from two sides, an aggregator of goods and services on the one hand and customers on the other. And it will be necessary to interest not only customers who will come to this messenger to buy something, but also people who want to put their goods there.
В этот мессенджер, чтобы что-то покупать, но и людей, которые захотят поставить это все это.
The Darbazaar.kz platform claims the status of Kazakhstan's Amazon. On this resource, domestic entrepreneurs get their own online store with well-established processing and logistics. The site has already passed beta testing and today works in full force.
Kazakhstan, the future is here.
Kazakhstan is one of the significant players of the world economy and one of the 50 largest exporting countries today. There are 100 world states in our sales geography. There are 820 titles of domestic goods in the range of supplies. The principal share of Kazakhstani exports comes from raw materials, oil, uranium, and wheat. But recently, this tendency is changing. First processing enterprises are opening and already coming out to global markets with prepared products. You will learn in the 4 Export program about where and how the production branded Made in Kazakhstan is produced. Today in the program, export potential of Western Kazakhstan, energy-saving transformers, double-glazed windows of new generation. West Kazakhstan region is the 8th largest region of Kazakhstan, famous for its mining enterprises. But like in the whole country, the number of commodity producers is growing every year. The spheres of agriculture and food industry show the biggest growth. Over the past months of 2017, the West Kazakhstan region produced goods worth almost 1,400 billion tenge. 7 new enterprises are planned to be introduced within the framework of the State Program for Industrial and Innovative Development, SPIID, and the Industrialization Map, which will help create about 500 jobs. The city of Uralsk is the administrative center of the West Kazakhstan region. The largest and the most active enterprises of machine building, food and light industries are concentrated here. One of them is the Ural Converter Plant. Ural Converter Plant, LLP, manufacture of electrical equipment, production volume 7,000 units per year, share of exports 96%, geography of sales Russia, Armenia. The plant was launched in 2015 during the visit of the head of state, Nursultan Abishevich Nazarbayev. The president himself gave a start to our plant. Since then, the enterprise employs 250 people. This plant produces 12 types of transformers. This product allows you to convert an electric current to a convenient measurable value, and also ensures the safety of electric power systems. It is necessary to observe high accuracy in its production, with the help of high-tech equipment. We buy electrical steel in Russia. We get aluminum wire rod for wire production from Kazakhstani factories. Completing parts arrive mainly from Turkey, water switches for example. We receive paper and insulation materials from Germany.
Если брать по качеству, то продукция всех трансформаторных заводов.
If we take the quality, then the output of all converter factories of the CIS countries is on the same level. Regarding prices and terms, we provide customers with a competitive price. In terms of time, we have high-performance technological lines from European countries on the site, which allows us to produce transformers in a short period of time.
И это позволяет нам производить трансформаторы в сжатые сроки.
The raw materials affect the quality of the final product. The enterprise mainly uses local materials, and some are brought from Russia. Electrotechnical steel of 3409 grade is obtained from Russia. This is the highest mark. It affects idling. Our converters are energy saving. There are very few losses here. Minimum service life of these transformers is 25 years. This is achieved through innovative technologies. Due to reduced idle and short current performance, the Urals converter plant can boast of high energy efficiency. All these indicators, together with the reduced costs, make Kazakhstani converters even more attractive in the export markets. The third component of quality product is the professionalism of employees. Electric machine building is one of the most dangerous industries, so the qualification is not just for an image here.
Мы заключили меморандумы с местными вузами, также средними учебными заведениями.
We signed a memoranda with local universities and secondary schools. We train personnel, we take them to the training and later on to the production practice. Who will do justice to himself? That one we will provide with a workplace.
Показывать себя с положительной стороны. Мы ему уже обеспечиваем рабочим местом.
Приезжали технологи, показывали чертежи, нас обучали, как по чертежам работать.
Technologists came, taught us how to work with drawings with isolation. It helped us a lot and helps us at the moment. New employees arrive, we teach them to have high-quality converters.
Намотчики, мы их обучаем, чтобы у нас были качественные трансформаторы.
All these efforts allow the employees of the plant to produce up to 7,000 ready-made transformers per year. However, next year this figure is planned to be increased to 9,000 units. The greater part of the production is exported. This is one of the few Kazakhstani enterprises that supplies such a large share of production to the foreign market. 96% of converters go to Russia and Armenia. This year, the company supplied 250 transformers to Armenia. In the future, this number is scheduled to increase. Russia became the permanent sales market. 4,000 transformers went there in a year of operation, which amounted to about 5% to the foreign market. Considering all the partner factories for the production of transformers, this is a big indicator for us. It is, we can say, a successful entry into the Russian market. For such a young indicator, this is a good indicator, but they are not going to stop here. Active development of new technologies will begin in 2018, which will allow increasing production volumes. We are planning to purchase new additional line for cross-cutting steel. Thus, we will increase our productivity by 30%. This year, we reached the full possible capacity of the plant and realized almost all production. Next year, we'll have another 30%. Since all the products are exported, such increase in production will help to strengthen positions in foreign markets. Soon, 3 countries will immediately join the list of export destinations. Now we are working on entering the markets of the Republic of Azerbaijan and Georgia. Also, negotiations are underway with the Republic of Moldova. At various exhibitions and meetings, representatives of these countries already had an opportunity to get acquainted with the products of the Urals converter plant. Enterprise plans to send a test batch of converters in new directions next year. The glass industry in Kazakhstan is represented mainly by manufacturing enterprises. Despite the availability of necessary raw materials inside the country, the glass itself is imported by processing factories. Nevertheless, it does not prevent them from producing high-quality glass products and constantly expanding the sales markets far beyond Kazakhstan. Stiklo Service LLP, production of double-glazed windows and glass products. The volume of production, 700,000 square meters of insulating glass per year. Export share, 30%. Sales geography, Russia, countries of Central Asia.
Наше производство занимается основной обработкой стекла.
Our production is engaged in the main processing of glass. It's a very large scale of processing, starting from cutting glass and finishing with the assembly of glass units. We have a tempering furnace, which is an innovative equipment, at least in Kazakhstan.
Оборудованием, по крайней мере, у нас в Казахстане.
Glass is one of the most popular building materials in the world. Today, this material is used for facing buildings of different purposes, from offices to entertainment centers and residential buildings. Therefore, the demand for double-glazed windows is steadily growing, not only in Kazakhstan, but also throughout the world. Company Stiklo Service caught this trend back in 2008. We started with a small store, which was opened in 2001. In 2008, we built our first small workshop for the production of double-glazed windows. And in 2013, we built our main workshop. The company employs 80 people. In one shift, they produce 1,000 square meters of insulating glass of different types. 3 shifts a day can provide a demand, producing about 4,000 square meters of products in 24 hours. Glass processing is the process that requires constant innovation. The modern construction industry makes more demands on double-glazed windows. They should not just be transparent and beautiful, but also strong enough to withstand various weather conditions and mechanical effects. One of the innovative products is produced on the lamination line.
Линия по сборке ламинации, то есть по ламинированию стекла, то есть в итоге, в конечном итоге мы получаем...
On the line, we laminate the glass. In the end, we get a triplex, as people call it. It is a safe glass. Lamination is a process of gluing 2 or more sheets of glass together with a special gluing material.
Более листов стекол между собой, то есть за счет, так скажем, материала, специального материала.
We are engaged in manufacturing of tempered glass. Firstly, the glass is safe. Secondly, it is much stronger, and stones don't just break it. Another plus of such double-glazed windows is a high level of noise insulation, which is especially important for urban buildings. Before we started making insulating glass, we went to study. We went to exhibitions in such countries as Lithuania. There we watched similar production, which we were taught, told how to work properly, how to make glass and what to look for. When we arrived back home, we opened our production and we trained ourselves. It turned out that it is not such a simple task to create a double-glazed window from ordinary materials. Raw materials must pass 5 to 6 processing steps before it can be used in construction. It is cutting, processing, then painting, hardening. After that, there is an assembly of insulating glass.
После закалки идет сборка. У нас есть такие виды обработок, как эмалирование стекла, то есть это покраска стекла.
We have such types of processing as glass enameling. It's a painting of glass, used in construction purposes of stained glass. We have equipment, a UV printer on which we can print images on the glass.
На котором мы можем печатать, то есть график на стекле. То есть это UV принтер.
Ultraviolet printing on glass is a new trend of modern interior design. This technology replaced the sandblast printing. It allows you to put a color pattern of any complexity on a material. The image is not subject to fading and is resistant to mechanical stress. Moreover, the image is selected by individual order, which makes the interior truly unique. The company provides Kazakhstani and Russian markets with its products for a while. Construction of 2 additional workshops has already begun. Each of them will increase the production volumes by 2 times. The construction of 2 new workshops is already underway. They will be bigger than the main shop. With the introduction of the new shops, the workplace will certainly increase by 150 people. The increase in production volumes will lead to the expansion of sales markets. The increase in the share of exports is also included in the list of enterprise plans. We have plans for far abroad, countries of Central Asia such as Kyrgyzstan and Turkmenistan. Now we mainly work with Russia. It is also a large country, so there is enough work to do. But we are not everywhere in Russia. We are only in the Volga region. Now we want to go to the south and north of Russia. There are big plans. All these plans are supported by the state. Kazakhstan has programs that support export-oriented enterprises, but each of them is aimed primarily at providing a local market, which can be done quite quickly. Meetings at the levels of heads of states and governments opened Iranian market for West Kazakhstani region, where the local meat is already supplied to. Great opportunities are also opening in China, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel. These countries are mostly interested in the agricultural products.
Kazakh TV, the homeland, is closer with us. Kazakhstan, the future is here.
WTO is associated with long talks, various tariffs, customs quotas, imports and exports, as well as with other terms which our consumers sometimes do not understand. The task of WTO market program is to break all the barriers between buyers and sellers because we know everything about the prices.
Why does Kazakhstan need to switch to 12-year curriculum for basic education? How is the government going to solve the problem of ungraded schools? And why state-recognized diplomas will disappear soon? By 2020, school lessons may be taught in the online mode. This will happen due to the increase of global investment in educational technologies. The number of students all over the world is to double within a decade. This will happen, first of all, owing to the increasing number of students in Asia. Currently, there are about 140 million students all over the globe. 39 Russian universities are to increase education exports. In early September, the government of Russia approved the roadmap for a government's priority project on education export. Export implies attraction of foreign students and increasing the number of participants of online courses from abroad. The principal task of education is to train competitive graduates needed by the labor market. In conditions of the WTO, or in other words, international trade, the competition between graduates is toughening. It is no secret that graduates in Kazakhstan have lower level of training than in developed countries. Because of that, we are introducing a 12-year curriculum where upper form pupils will have a chance to choose their area of specialization. Our country takes an active part in international comparative studies in order to find out its strengths and weaknesses in relation to other countries, including developed states among which we want to see ourselves. Kazakhstan has set an objective to join the top 30 most developed nations. This involves improving the level of education in the country. 2016 was a milestone in the sphere of secondary education. The transition to three-lingual education is another important step. It is planned that it will be introduced since September 2019. However, in order to improve the level of education, Kazakhstan will need to solve some immediate problems. Besides educational content, due attention should be paid to management, personnel and infrastructure. As for content, special growth points have been created in the education system. These are intellectual schools in preschool and school education, Kasip Core Professional Holding in technical education, and Nazarbayev University in higher and postgraduate education. Their experience and programs, which they have already tested, currently provide basis for renovation of education content at all levels. In respect of management, it is important to open a way for collegial management in schools and universities. The problem of personnel shortage is addressed step by step. Practicing teachers are improving their skills and new ones are achieving their qualification. For example, in 2017, from approximately 4,500 winners of Altyn Bilgi, 16% decided to qualify for teachers. I think that this is quite a good result, which is improving from year to year. Educational infrastructure is an issue of special interest for Kazakhstan. The vast territory and varying density of population create two contradicting problems: ungraded schools in remote regions and 2 or 3 shift schools in Astana, Almaty and South Kazakhstan. According to data from 2016, over the last 16 years, costs for preschool education increased 54 times, for secondary education 12 times, for vocational education 36 times, and for higher education 20 times. The share of expenditures on secondary education in Kazakhstan can be compared with member countries of the Organization for Economic Cooperation, 2.1% and 2.2% correspondingly. The main objective in the development of technical and professional education is making engineering careers more attractive. In fact, they are in demand in the labor market. However, few school leavers want to enter colleges. From this year, we launch a free program called Technical and Professional Education. Since 2014, we have Serpin program, which allows our school children to receive both higher and vocational education. There is also a possibility to study in north regions of the country. Students are provided with the opportunity of accommodation and further employment. The higher education system also needs to be modified. First of all, state standards should be transformed into international. Each nation is interested in training of highly qualified workers, first of all in the field of science and engineering. For this purpose, study abroad programs have been developed. For instance, Bolashak program has been functioning in Kazakhstan since 1993. Other states, in turn, are interested in training of foreign students because this is a huge source of income. Currently, Russia is the most attractive country for students from Kazakhstan. In 2015, citizens of Kazakhstan were the most numerous foreign students in Russia. There were almost 46,500 of them, or 23% of all foreign students. Universities in Kazakhstan face a shortage of applicants. It is also related to the population decline in the period between 1995 and 2002, as well as to outflow of students abroad. Along with Russia, young people go to study in China and far abroad countries. This implies the liberalization of admission regulations when, for example, students have a chance to take entrance exams once again, as well as conditional admission and increasing the number of grants. Thus, recently Joly party proposed to abolish the unified national testing for those applicants who enter universities on a paid basis.
обсуждаются.
Universities in Kazakhstan are willing not only to improve the quality of education, but also to switch to international standards.
То есть у нас есть национальные, конечно, стандарты.
Of course, we have our national standards and agencies. Still, we need to focus on standards which were accredited and accepted abroad. For example, there is a network of agencies functioning in the territory of Europe, and so on.
Действуют на территории там, Европы и так далее.
The government control of education is gradually reducing, and universities start to compete between each other. Students will be interested in obtaining a diploma of a particular higher education institution, as it has become a worldwide practice. Along with that, universities are developing their own educational programs, which serve good alternatives to foreign ones.
Нам необходимо ориентировать наши образовательные программы.
We have to aim our educational programs on the local needs that will help Kazakhstan to become a competitive WTO member. Since this is competition not only with neighboring countries, but with all the states which form a part of this system.
Это конкуренция вообще со всеми странами, которые входят в эту систему.
In future, Kazakhstan plans to become a major educational center in the Central Asian region. How to select an appropriate university in Kazakhstan? How many students are there in the world? And how much money does the US earn on students from abroad? While selecting the best university, parents and school leavers are guided by several criteria: tuition fee, international accreditation, possibility of having some part of training or internship abroad, and prospects for finding a job. To help future students, the national rating of universities of Kazakhstan has been drawn up in 2017. Nowadays, educational services are the most in-demand services throughout the world. The extensively developed market is controlled by the WTO rules. National educational standards of developed countries are unified, while diplomas and science degrees are recognized all over the world. Since 2000, the number of foreign students all over the world was growing by 7% annually. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development predicts that by 2020, their number will reach 8 million from 140 million of all students. The world demographic situation is expected to change dramatically in the nearest 5 years. 90% of people under 30, in other words, those who are in need for education, will live in developing countries. As a result, education should become as applied and available as possible. In most of WTO member countries, such services as educational are regarded as specific interests and therefore are not supplied to the international market to the full extent. However, according to the US Trade Department, higher education is ranked among the 5 most important export sectors in the American service industry. Despite the fact that foreign students in American universities represent only a small percentage of the total, the gross income from their studies exceeds $10 billion annually. The majority of foreign students come to the US from Asia and Brazil.
of art.
Legends in music.
The teenage boy hurried home, whipping his horse, forcing him to gallop faster. It seemed to him that he had heard these amazing sounds of the kobus, inviting, bewitching, and penetrating into his very heart. How did he hurry to tell his father about it? This music, like an invisible wave, picked him up and whirled him around. "Father!" exclaimed the boy, running into his yurt. "I saw an akin who came to us in the village to rest from the long road, and I heard him play on the kubus. You know, Father, that his music was so... And the boy looked at his father, but he couldn't find the right words. "Why are you so excited, my son?" The father smiled. "It's as if you've never heard the kobus." The father looked at his son, and he couldn't get enough of him. He was smart for his age. He caught everything on the fly, and was interested in everything. "I've heard it," the boy answered with ardor. "I've heard it many times, but I've never heard anything like this before. Oh, Father, if only you had heard it yourself. The kobus sang so tenderly, like my mother used to sing to me when I was very young. Like this, so gentle and tender, and I want to play this kui on my dumbra." His father laughed and praised his son. "Yes, Sugir, I know that even the glorified akins can envy your hearing. And you play perfectly on your dumbra. You can exactly reproduce almost any kui. But you say that the akin played it on the kobus." "Yes," answered Sugir, "but can this not be done?" "No," the father said. "That melody played on the kubus cannot be repeated on the dumbra. It would sound completely different." "But I want to play this kui," exclaimed the son. "Then you ought to learn how to play it on the kubus," his father said with a laugh. "But I want to play it on the dumbra," exclaimed Sugir. No one can do that," his father said cheerfully. "I can. I'll be the first one to do it, Father. You'll see, I will." And for a long time the father and son argued and laughed and talked about music, about the music that felt like a felt blanket, that warms a person like a mother's kiss and wraps them with love. How delightful is the steppe in the springtime. The path of the young Jigit waded across the steppe, and he rode on his low stallion and was in a great hurry to be on time for the rich festivities where he had been invited earlier. He rode and looked at the bright and juicy colors of the wild steppe, which were constantly changing. It was as if they were constantly being mixed by an invisible artist in his palette. In the deep ravines where the snow had barely fallen, the earth was brown due to the remnants of last year's grass. And there where the valley was flooded with a cool spring sun, the herbs flourished. Delicate, thin stems of grass stretched upward towards the heat and sun, filling themselves with juice and spreading their elastic leaves. The lilac bells of the dream grass and the small pale yellow and blue flowers of the grasses had already bloomed, and between them laid a gentle green cover of growing grass. The spring was generous to them all, and he, like all the inhabitants of the steppe, felt in his body an incredible surge of energy, joy and anticipation of something new, something good. And despite the fact that for many hours he rode on the road, he didn't feel any fatigue. He decided to stop only to give a rest to his horse. The horse ate a tender young grass, and the Jigit sat next to him on the ground, and untying his travel bag, he wanted to refresh himself a little bit. It was at that moment that he saw something was moving near him. The young man quickly got up, and after taking a few steps, he saw an eagle in the grass. The bird jerked sharply, trying to fly away, but only scored with his wings. Only now did the Jigit understand that the bird's wing was broken and an arrow was sticking out of it. He realized that the eagle was dying painfully under the scorching midday sun. "Oh, you poor thing," exclaimed the Jigit. "Do not be afraid. Don't be afraid of me. Now I'm here to help you." He lifted the eagle and felt his heartbeat and flutter. The young man carried it under a low but shady tree. Nearby ran a small stream, one of the many that spill into the spring in the valley. He put the water into the palm of his hands and gently poured it into the bird's beak. Carefully he took out the arrow and washed the bloody wing with water. "Well, here you are. Your wound is not that deep. Goodbye, glorious eagle." The Jigit again looked at the eagle and saddled on his horse and rode off. Mother of pearl dragonflies, May beetles, striped bees all awakened after hibernation, excited and drunk from the bright sun, flew furiously over the barely blossoming field flowers. The young man took out his dumbra and began to play, humming a merry song. He peered into the distance and saw a barely noticeable strip of hills on the horizon. He had to reach the village by sunset. He inhaled the tender mint, aromatic, fragrant air with his whole breast and thought that the steppe smelled like this only in the early spring. In the summer, its smell became like honey, sweet, and in the autumn it was bitter. His native steppe is different. It is stern, burning, and frosty, and then it becomes gentle, velvety, quietly sleeping under the summer heat. Covered at dawn with a pink mist like a young girl, and then yearning for a monotonous autumn rain, it's like an ancient old woman. But now beauty was here. It was springtime. Descending the hill, the young man saw a wild red horse, which walked back and forth, around a pit, washed out by torrential rains. And only when he came closer, she jumped from him to a safe distance, and he saw that in this pit there was a small colt that snorted and beat with hooves. But he could not get out of its trap. Seeing the man, the colt got scared. "Oh no, I see you've landed somewhere." "Well, don't be afraid of me," the young man said. He jumped off his horse and slowly, trying not to frighten the animal, began to descend into the pit. Having descended, the Jigit went to the colt and, deftly clasping him by his hind legs, picked him up and pushed him out. The little hooves clattered on the ground, and the fowl rushed to his mother. The horse jerked her head and cried. At the same moment, they disappeared behind the green hill. It was getting dark. The Jigit rode along and listened to the sounds of the steppe, which were flooded with various overflows, birds singing, and quails crying, the incessant chatter of grasshoppers and cicadas, as well as eagles screaming the eternal breath of the wind. Suddenly he saw blue smoke. It was from an aoul. Finally he had reached it. Only on the 7th day, a magnificent celebration in the village ended. The Jigit bid farewell to everyone and thanked his hosts for the invitation and for the gifts, and riding his horse, he left early in the morning. The pink rays of the rising sun flooded the plain. Surprisingly, usually with all its polyphonic sound, during the hours in the steppe, it was incredibly quiet, as if time and any movement in it had stopped. The horse's hooves walked along the soft, warm earth, and the young man thought about something and even dozed off. Suddenly his horse jerked, started, and strained his resilient body. Just next to each other there was a rustling of horses. Dozens of glittering black almond-shaped eyes slid over an uninvited traveler, and a herd of wild horses sped past them. One fowl lagged behind the herd, turning abruptly and galloping straight for the Jigit. The boy's horse bent his head, ready to attack, but the colt galloped before them playfully and ardently, describing the arc. Then he turned around and galloped away to catch up with his herd. The young man looked after him, and he could not understand anything. Then he slapped himself on the forehead with his palm and exclaimed, turning to his horse, "You see? Yes, it's the same colt that I pulled from the pit. He's come to greet us. Wow!" So joyful was the soul of the young man. He thought about what the Aksakals really say. From good deeds the body is filled with vivacity and strength as the bowl is filled with strong kumus. The Jigit passed halfway and saw a tree, under which he helped the wounded eagle. The young man jumped off his horse and went to the place, but the bird was gone. He decided to give his horse a rest, and he himself laid down on the grass, stretching out with his hands behind his head. In the crystal blue sky, white cottony clouds swam slowly. Suddenly a small black dot tore a fluffy cloud and fell down directly at him. The young man didn't think about anything. He just watched them approaching, increasing in size. And only when the shadow fell to the ground, the Jigit saw the big bird diving at him. The young man covered his face with his hands, but the bird did not intend to attack him, but only to hover above him. The young man opened his eyes and saw the eagle circling above his head. He laughed and jumped to his feet, shouting and waving his hands, "Hey, I'm glad to see you, that you are in good health." The eagle once again flew in circles and soared high into the sky. Glee filled the Jigit's heart. He felt himself a single whole with this amazing step, the thorny bushes and the soft grass, with the swarming fussy insects and the fearless eagle soaring in the sky, as well as the swift, unbridled herd of horses. He then took out his dumbra. His fingers touched its strings, and the instrument began to sing, expressing the Akun's feelings. The musician played about how things which might seem so unrelated to each other easily and harmoniously are connected. And he is the same inhabitant of this steppe and a part of this huge, incomprehensible universe we simply call life. A young but already famous Kuishi came to the village. With reverence, he was met by Sugir. "Thank you for your kindness, Sugir," said the Kuishi. "I have come to you on purpose. The glory of you, like a fast bird, has rushed through the villages, and your Kui, this is the best music that I've ever heard. Can I play it? I really want to hear how your dumbra will sing this Kui." From such words of praise, Sugir's cheeks blushed, and he bowed his head reverently. Years passed, and the boy Sugir became a tall and strong Jigit. His beautiful, swarthy face was lit up with a joyful smile, and he led the honorary guests to his yurt. The father went out to a meeting with the guests and hastily instructed the girl to put the samovar on in order for the guests to drink the fragrant, strong tea. Fingers touched the strings, and the Kuishi began to play. The dumbra began to sing, gently and touchingly. Sugir attentively listened to how the Kuishi played. And when the sounds of the dumbra faded, he said, "Your talent is like gold. It sparkles, and any other kuishi can fade if he dares to play after you. And you say that this kui is mine, but you are mistaken. I heard this music in my childhood. Wanakun played it on a kubus. I have just adapted this kui to the dumbra." Sugir struck the strings of the dumbra, and it sang softly and touchingly, just like his mother used to sing to him. The musical abilities of Sugir were manifested in childhood. The timbre tints and the depth of the musical sensations which are characteristic of Sugir's kuis are characterized by their thoughtfulness, the richness and content. The feature of Sugir's creativity is that he created new musical traditions, combining the melody of a dumbra with the melody of a kubus.